You have some upcoming projects. Now, one's really fast. I think all artists' upcoming work is fascinating. But you got one coming up about Eureka Springs.
Yes, I do.
About the Norman Baker years of the Eureka Springs, the Crescent Hotel.
Absolutely.
Now, a lot of people, when you talk about the Crescent Hotel, they just know the ghost hunters crap.
Yeah, right.
It's haunted. It's haunted. I stayed there.
Yeah, right.
The only haunting I heard was the rumbling in the toilet.
Yeah. Yeah, I've stayed there too. I stayed there once about 10 years ago, and it was the same thing. I was curious because you've heard, all growing up, I heard, boy from Missouri, always heard about the haunted Crescent, and
right.
And so I stayed there one night. Nothing really happened. I did have a light did click off, but
really? Okay.
I did.
More than I had.
It didn't really click off. It just turned off. So that could have been an electrical thing. It could, I don't know. It could be anything. I'm sort of, in the middle when it comes to all that. Right. I'm like, well, I'm from Missouri, so you got to show me. I got to see that. So, and then the alarm clock went off the next morning, but I didn't set it. But someone else could have done that. So, But anyway, but I went on the ghost tour, and more so than the ghost that they talked about, what stuck with me was the story about the medical practitioner that turned the Crescent into a cancer clinic in the late 1930s. And
I don't think most people know about that.
Right. Well,
I don't know anything about that.
Yeah. Well, basically, in 1938, there was a man by the name of Norman Baker who came into Eureka Springs, and this is coming around off the heels of the Depression, and people, they needed money. I mean, the town was doing pretty bad financially, and so this very flamboyant medical maverick comes into town, and I say flamboyant because he always wore white suits and lavender ties, and he drove a purple Cord. That's the style of car that he drove, and not a Accord, but a Cord, and which at the time, all cars were black, and to have a purple convertible car,
that sounds like it must have been custom made.
Yeah, absolutely, and so he he was a populous radio show host in Muscatine, Iowa, and he was also the inventor of the calliope, the air calliope.
Really?
Yep, absolutely. Norman Baker, and he made millions off of that. Yeah. Before that, he was a vaudeville magician, of all things. So he has this extremely colorful past.
I don't know. All things considered, I don't want to go to a cancer doctor who is a vaudeville magician.
Okay, well, yeah, exactly. Well, exactly. And that's exactly. Well, and Baker had the cure for cancer. He was what he. That was his thing. He had the cure for cancer, and so he was coming into town, and this savior and they looked at him as this guy that was going to pull them out of their financial recession going on, and so people from all over the U.S. started coming to his cancer clinic, and they noticed that only the healthy people were seen out in the walking the grounds of the cancer clinic. And and so what was happening is it finally came out that he really was not he wasn't a doctor, and he was in fact he had never had a day of formal medical training in his life.
More of a vaudeville musician.
Exactly. And what happens within these 2 years and all the years leading up to that is really fascinating. It's just this amazing story about this very, very interesting individual that I was shocked when I had heard the story at the on the ghost tour.
I'm sure people are still going to